Here's a number that sounds wrong the first time you hear it. The heaviest dog ever officially weighed and recorded, a house pet, an English Mastiff, came in at roughly 343 pounds. Now here's the part that should stop you. That dog was never a wild animal. It was a sofa-dwelling giant, built over centuries by human hands selecting for exactly one trait, mass. Go back to nature, no leash, no breeder, no dog food bowl, and look at the largest dog species evolution has ever produced on its own, the gray wolf. The single biggest wild canine species alive tops out, on average, under 130 pounds. There's one freak record, a wolf shot in the Yukon decades ago that scaled in around 175 pounds, and that's treated as an outlier, not a benchmark. That's the actual ceiling nature set. Now put a Siberian tiger next to that number. Roughly 600 pounds of muscle, capable of dragging an adult buffalo through mud and undergrowth like it weighs nothing. So sit with that gap for a second. Cats produced a land predator that could outmuscle a wolf twice over without breaking a sweat. Dogs, across every species, every subspecies, every corner of the planet, never got there. Not close. Not once. Not in millions of years of trying. And that's strange, because on paper, cats and dogs are running on the same engine, same evolutionary route, a shared ancestor that ate meat for a living. Same base toolkit, sharp teeth, claws, hunting instinct wired into the brain from birth. Two branches off the same tree, both chasing the exact same goal, become the deadliest thing your ecosystem has to offer. Yet only one branch was ever allowed to supersize. For years, the lazy explanation floating around was that it simply hadn't happened yet. That if you gave evolution enough time and enough random mutations, a giant wild dog was inevitable, just running late. Sooner or later, the dice would land right. Then scientists actually crunched the numbers on canine body size across the fossil record, and that comfortable theory collapsed. What the data revealed wasn't a gap waiting to be filled by luck. It was something closer to a wall, a hard limit that dog family predators kept slamming into on different continents across tens of millions of years and never once punched through. To understand why that wall exists, you have to stop thinking of cats and dogs as similar animals and start thinking of them as two completely different businesses. A cat is a closer. Every part of its body is engineered around a single explosive transaction. Get close without being noticed. Detonate. End the encounter in seconds, often before the prey has even registered what's happening. A dog is a collector working on commission. It doesn't finish things in one move. It follows. Wolves, African wild dogs, dholes. They lock onto a target and simply refuse to quit, jogging behind it for miles until the prey's own body gives out from exhaustion. One family kills with a single moment. The other kills with time itself. You don't need a biology degree to understand this trade-off, because your own species runs the identical split. Look at elite athletes. The men who climb the brutal mountain stages of the Tour de France are lean to the point of looking fragile. Hollow cheeks, thin limbs, built like coat hangers, because every extra gram they're carrying uphill is a gram actively working against them. Now picture an Olympic sprinter or a competitive weightlifter, dense slabs of muscle, explosive, enormous compared to the cyclist, and almost useless if you ask that same body to hold pace for 3 hours straight. Power and endurance are opposite investments. You cannot build a body that maximizes both at the same time. Evolution didn't get a say in that rule. Physics wrote it long before predators existed to be bound by it. So here's the obvious follow-up question. If size is such an advantage, why didn't dogs just copy the cat playbook? Why not evolve into ambush predators and cash in on the same size bonus? The answer is sitting at the end of their paws. A tiger's claws retract. They stay sheathed, protected, kept razor sharp and unworn until the exact half second they're needed. Then they extend, hook into the target, and pin it in place while the jaws finish the job. A dog's claws never retract. They're out permanently, worn down, blunted, ground flat from a lifetime of running across dirt and rock. They're built more like a sprinter's spiked shoes than like a set of knives. A dog physically cannot grab and pin a large, thrashing animal the way a cat can. It was never issued that piece of equipment, which means the long chase isn't a lifestyle dogs chose. It's the only door evolution left unlocked for them. And this is exactly where the wall turns from theory into hard math. In an ambush, extra size is pure profit. More mass means more crushing force, which means a bigger, more dangerous prey animal becomes safe to take down. Size pays for itself instantly. In a chase, size is a bill you have to pay on every single mile. A heavier body overheats faster. It burns through fuel faster. It hits its limit and shuts down long before a leaner, lighter body even starts to feel the strain. So the two families spent millions of years living under opposite laws of physics. Every extra pound a cat gained got rewarded by the ambush. Every extra pound a dog gained got punished by the chase. Cats kept getting pulled upward in size. Dogs kept getting pinned down. That explains the general pattern. It still doesn't explain the part that should really bother you. Why, out of every single species of dog that has ever walked the planet, not one single lineage managed to sneak past that ceiling. Except, it turns out, one almost did. Rewind roughly 9 million years to North America. There was a genuine card-carrying member of the dog family called Epicyon haydeni, part of an extinct group nicknamed the bone-crushing dogs. Throw out whatever mental image the word dog gives you right now. This animal averaged well over 200 pounds, with the largest known individuals estimated near 375 pounds. That's heavier than a full-grown grizzly bear. Its skull was so massive, its jaw so overbuilt, that early paleontologists who first dug up its bones assumed they'd found a bear, not a canine. Its bite was strong enough to crack open the leg bone of a prehistoric horse just to reach the marrow hidden inside. For a stretch of a few million years, Epicyon was arguably the single most dangerous land predator on the entire continent, going head-to-head with anything the cat family had managed to produce at the time. This wasn't a hypothetical giant dog dreamed up to make a point. It was flesh and bone. It existed. It ruled. And then, along with its entire extended lineage, it disappeared completely. So what actually took down the one dog that broke the rule? Not a bigger, more violent rival that hunted it into extinction. The leading explanation researchers point to is far quieter than that, and honestly, more humiliating. It got outcompeted on efficiency. It got out-earned. As true cats spread across North America during this period, they were simply better at converting a killed body into usable calories. One clean pounce costs an animal almost nothing in energy. A drawn-out, miles-long chase. Especially when you're now dragging around 250 plus pounds of body mass that also needs to be fed daily. Burns through a fortune of stored energy every single hunt. And here's the part that really seals Epicyon's fate. It had scaled itself all the way up to bear-sized mass without ever fixing its original design flaw. It still had the same blunt, non-retractable claws. It still had the wrong shoulder structure for pinning prey. It had built the body of a chase and crush predator and then blown that body up to enormous proportions. And it still couldn't execute an ambush the way a cat could. Tellingly, even at that massive size, fossil evidence suggests Epicyon leaned on hunting in groups and short-controlled bursts of speed rather than a single clean, solitary killing strike. It never actually escaped being a big dog attempting a cat's job, and doing it badly. In an ecosystem where large prey is a limited resource, the cats simply ate more consistently, for a fraction of the energy cost. Stretch a gap like that across enough generations, and you're not watching a fight. You're watching a slow, grinding eviction play out. The giant dog wasn't defeated in battle. It was priced out of the market. There's something almost poetic in that. The one time in history a dog managed to rival a big cat in raw size, it collapsed for the exact same structural reason the two families split apart in the first place, tens of millions of years earlier. Bulk without the right tools to use it isn't a weapon. It's just a bigger mouth to feed that you can no longer afford. Meanwhile, somewhere else on the evolutionary map, the ancestors of today's wolves were doing something that looks almost embarrassing next to a 375-pound bone-crushing giant. They stayed small. They stayed together. And they leaned, completely and without hesitation, into the one advantage a mid-sized predator has that a lone giant never will. Arithmetic. A single 100-pound wolf standing alone has no realistic chance against a full-grown bull elk. Put 8 of those wolves together, and suddenly that elk is in serious trouble. And not one of those 8 animals has to personally carry the joint strain, the metabolic cost, or the daily food bill that comes with being a 600-pound predator. the pack became the size. Cooperation did for a 100-pound wolf exactly what 600 pounds of solid muscle does for a tiger. It just distributed the workload across multiple smaller bodies instead of compressing it all into one massive one. You can actually watch this same logic prove itself in reverse on the cat side of the family through the one glaring exception to every rule we've just laid out: lions. Lions are the only big cat species that regularly hunts in coordinated groups. And a lion pride does for its members almost exactly what a wolf pack does for wolves, which is precisely why a lion can afford to lean on teamwork instead of depending entirely on one flawless, solitary ambush. Strip that group dynamic away from a cat and leave it with nothing but solo hunting, and biology pushes it, almost inevitably, toward exactly what tigers, leopards, and jaguars already are: heavy, silent, endlessly patient, one-strike killers. Strip the ambush option away from a dog and leave it with nothing but the long chase, and biology pushes it just as inevitably toward exactly what wolves and wild dogs already are: lean, tireless, deeply social animals. Two branches of the same family tree, one shared question, two completely permanent, non-negotiable answers. And once a lineage has committed that hard in one direction, there is no reverse gear. A body engineered over millions of years for a 30-mile pursuit cannot simply sprout retractable claws in a handful of 1,000 generations and switch careers. There's one final trap in this whole story, and it catches almost everybody the first time they hear about it: hyenas. Spotted hyenas hunt in tightly coordinated packs. They run prey down to complete exhaustion over long distances. Visually, they look exactly like an over-muscled, lanky dog built for the chase. If any living animal on Earth looks like it should be the missing giant dog we never got, common sense points straight at the hyena. But a hyena is not a dog, not even loosely. Genetically, it actually sits firmly on the cat side of the carnivore family tree, far closer in ancestry to cats, mongooses, and civets than to any wolf that has ever lived. The one animal on this entire planet that most convincingly disguises itself as a giant pack-hunting dog has been standing in the cat family's half of the tree this whole time. Even that isn't a loophole. It's just a very good costume. And every genuinely oversized dog you can actually point to today: the Great Dane, the Irish Wolfhound, the English Mastiff we started this video with, exists for exactly one reason: us. None of these breeds were shaped by millions of years of ecological pressure, competition, or survival math. They're the product of a few thousand years of humans deliberately turning up the size dial on an animal that evolution had already permanently filed under "keep this one small." Take a Great Dane and drop it back into a wild ecosystem with no human support, and it has none of the actual advantages either predator family earned the hard way. It doesn't have a wolf's engine built for the long chase. It doesn't have a tiger's tools built for the fast kill. It's not a product of nature's design process at all. It's our shortcut, wearing the shape of something evolution specifically decided never to build. So the real question buried inside this whole video was never simply, why are there no big dogs? There actually was one. It ruled an entire continent for a few million years. And it didn't fall because something stronger came along and beat it in a fight. It fell to a smaller, sharper-clawed competitor that was simply doing the same job for a fraction of the price. And the family that never chased size in the first place, the one that bet everything on staying lean and staying together, is still out there tonight, still running something down, 1 mile at a time, exactly the way it has for millions of years, completely unbothered by the fact that it never became the biggest thing in the room. Sometimes the animal that survives isn't the one that got the biggest. It's the one that understood exactly what it was actually built to do and never once stopped doing it. If you made it all the way to this point in the video, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is made for. So let me ask for one small favor before you go anywhere. Hit that like button. It genuinely is the single fastest signal that tells YouTube this story was worth 15 minutes of someone's time. And it's what pushes this video in front of the next curious person asking themselves the same question you probably had scrolling in. Then drop a comment, because I actually go through and read every single one. Tell me what surprised you the most. Was it the fact that a bone-crushing dog the size of a grizzly bear ruled North America for millions of years and then quietly vanished? Was it discovering that the hyena, the animal that looks most like the missing giant dog, has been hiding in the cat family this entire time? Or was it realizing that a Great Dane isn't really a product of nature at all, but basically a human invention wearing a dog's face? And here's the one that actually matters most to me. Tell me what the next video should dig into. I'm not going to give you hints or steer you toward anything specific. Whatever question has been sitting quietly in the back of your mind, whatever thing you've always wondered about but never had someone actually sit down and explain properly, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one of them. And there's a very real chance the next video on this channel comes directly out of something you typed down there today. And if this is the kind of deep dive, evidence-backed storytelling you want more of in your feed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Because if there's one thing worth remembering from everything we just went through, it's this. The ones that actually survive long-term aren't always the biggest, or the strongest, or the most dominant on paper. Very often, they're simply the ones that learn to stick together. So stick around, subscribe, and let's keep hunting these questions down, one video at a time, for a long, long time to come.